Educating Jessie is such a great episode of Full House. This is the 6th episode of the 6th season. This is directed by Zwick, and as always there will be spoilers from now as I go through the episode and share some thoughts. It starts off very adorably with Joey playing with the twins and Michelle joins in. Not a bad way to start things off. We then have two main parts of the narrative and everything ties together really nicely. Danny teaches Michelle a shoelace tying song, but most of the focus is on Danny and Stephanie arguing about how to sing it correctly. It baffles Michelle all the more. Becky teaches her a song. Michelle is still struggling to tie her shoelace, and DJ is also trying to come up with a campaign for staying in school, and she does come up with a campaign slogan, and I love this. It's people who are smart finish what they start. I love it, but also that's not necessarily true. I think being smart also includes knowing when you've reached your limit. Continuing with something forever, knowing that it doesn't work for you, is not very smart. So I agree with it to an extent, but I do like it. I think it is a catchy slogan, and definitely within terms of staying in school, it makes sense. And we'll come back to finishing what they start in a little bit. The main narrative focuses, of course, on Jessie. And this comes about because DJ wants Jessie and Joey to be spokesmen for the Stay in School campaign. Jessie doesn't want to do it. He's not clear on why, he just says he's busy, but then we find out that, well, he admits he was a dropout, which for me is a bit of a strange concept because we don't graduate from secondary school, we don't graduate from high school, and there's no guilt. I mean, there might be personal guilt, but there's no, I didn't graduate high school, so there's no shame surrounding that. So it's very different in the UK. And I don't know if it's a good thing because people won't feel guilty for being a dropout, or a bad thing because people might be more inclined to stay in school for fear of being branded a dropout. So I don't know. I don't know if it's a good thing or not. But either way, Jessie didn't finish school and he decides to go back to school. And we get a really nice scene in the classroom, and it could have gone a different direction because one of the students there recognised him from his music career, and they could have gone down the route of, well, actually, when people remind Jessie of his fame and success, he gets distracted in the classroom, but also he has this fame and success. And even though he didn't graduate high school, he was still able to make a name for himself. So I'm surprised they didn't go down that route. I think that that's a really great message. But maybe they wanted to really focus on the fact that you should do everything you can to graduate high school. Not only will it stop you from feeling like a dropout, but it will give you the best opportunities in life. So I think it could have been more interesting, or maybe not more interesting, but equally interesting if they'd taken that route. I think maybe they could have leaned into that a little bit more as well. Because yes, Jessie feels like a failure, but honestly, his life is not a fail. He has a successful career. He has a great family. He's dedicated a lot of his personal time to help raise somebody else's children. Granted, it's his sister's children, but they didn't really do any of that. And I feel like they could have taken that opportunity to say, yes, go back to school, you'll feel better about yourself. But also, if that's not an option, look at what you've achieved. So I think there was a bit of a missed opportunity there. And I feel like they're definitely saying, if you don't finish school, you're a failure. Now, as somebody who values education, I absolutely think you should stay in school as long as possible. But they didn't really look at alternatives. So I think they're maybe a little bit biased there. And I think that's maybe not great on their part. But I do obviously like the fact that they're saying, if you didn't finish school and you have the opportunity, go back, you'll feel better about yourself. But it doesn't necessarily go according to plan. Jessie is there. It turns out that the teacher is his old teacher, Mr. Pearson, played by Bill Morey. And Jessie is feeling really proud of himself. He's memorised some of "Oh Captain, My Captain." He gives this lovely rendition. And because he can't tell the teacher exactly what it's about, the teacher tells him to sit down and slowly so he doesn't injure his brain. No teacher should ever say that to a student, because as we see with Jessie, it instantly deflates his sense of self-worth and his ability. And Jessie excuses himself and he goes to the bathroom, but actually he goes home and he's quit. Not because he doesn't want to do it, but because his teacher made him feel like he can't. And no educator should ever do that. And I hated that teacher in that moment. And then we come back to Michelle. Michelle has also given up. She can't tie her shoelaces, so she's just throwing out her many pairs of shoes that have laces. And Jessie tells her, you can't quit. But Michelle says, if you can quit, I can quit, which is fair enough. If Jessie's allowed to quit, why can't she? And they make a deal. Jessie will go back to school, and Michelle will continue to try to learn how to tie her shoelaces. And it was a really sweet moment. So in general, it's a great episode. There are some great messages about not giving up, about working hard, about realising it's not too late. Jessie may have left high school many years ago, but it's not too late to go back and try and finish. But as I said, and I'm saying this as somebody who really values education and who thinks everybody should stay in school as long as possible, at least until they're 18. But I still think they missed an opportunity to tell Jessie that even if you didn't finish high school, it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean you haven't achieved anything. And I think they needed a bit more balance in the episode because not everybody will be able to go back to school to finish. I'm sure there will be people watching this episode who haven't finished school, who never graduated high school for whatever reason, but they're maybe not able to go back to school. Maybe they just can't. Maybe they're academically minded. Maybe it's not something they feel they can do. Maybe they have to work around the clock and don't have the time at the moment. And I feel like the episode would potentially make them feel quite bad about that. Whereas they might have a successful career, but they're working around the clock. And they might have a lovely family, but they have family commitments, so don't have time to go back to school. And yes, the argument, everybody can find time, but, well, maybe in the day of online learning, not so much, but certainly when this aired, it's not like you could do it online in your free time. You'd have to go there when the classes are on. And obviously, if that doesn't fit in with your career or your work and your family time, then you can't go back to school and it's not your fault. So I feel like the episode maybe did a bad thing by not finding that balance and showing that actually there are other ways of being successful. But again, I do support the message of getting the best education you can at any time that you can. And it's never too late to go back to school. So in general, I love it. But I think they didn't take the right approach with some aspects of it. But nevertheless, Educating Jessie is still, all things considered, a decent episode of Full House.